Welcome to the Ditch the Struggle podcast. I'm your host, Alana Rosso. I'm a graphic designer turned career and success coach who knew I could do better, but kept falling short of where I wanted to go. But after years of exploring personal and career development, business, money mindset, and energy work, I'm here to tell you that yes, you can move from stuck and defeated to empowered and confident. Ready to dive in? Awesome. Together, let's ditch the struggle. Hi everyone, welcome back. It has been a hot minute since I have shared a funny job story. This one's weird. This one, on a scale of like 1 to 10 in terms of weirdness, solid 8, maybe a 9. I don't know what it is about me that I just seem to attract like weird job opportunities. Like in a way, it's really great. I feel like things come my way. Like I do get a lot of opportunities. My skill set's, I guess, pretty broad too, which I think helps that I've been able to I can maneuver into different fields of just not even just design, but kind of personal development as well. So I feel like things come my way, but maybe my role in life is to have discernment and to know like when something's not good and when something's good and to really check into my gut. Because this one was weird from the beginning, but I followed through for quite a while. So what I have said before on my podcast is keep saying yes until it's a no. And that's really what I did. I just kind of kept saying yes to this process, which was, looking back, I was like, what the F was I thinking? Like, it's almost embarrassing, but I'm going to tell you anyway. What was I thinking? Why did I do that? Maybe I was hopeful that this would lead to something. I don't know. But the whole thing was so strange. So I'm going to tell this little story. I can't say all the details. So I did sign an NDA. I'm going to call this company Sonic. Just going to call them Sonic. It was a coaching kind of job. And this came through LinkedIn, I don't know, 2.5, 3 years, maybe 3 years ago. And I had applied to this job on LinkedIn, as most of my jobs have come through LinkedIn. As much as I can't stand LinkedIn, I recognize its value. And I do have a really good track record of getting positions and offers through LinkedIn. So I applied to this company that was a startup, Canadian startup, and they were doing corporate webinars. Totally up my alley. I've done tons of webinars. It was in the personal development space. It was in my zone of competence, but a bit of a challenge because some of the topics I didn't know too much about in terms of mental health. So it was going to push me in some different directions. It was very interesting. I liked that as a startup, I have a certain amount of risk tolerance and there's potential for growth. Now, the thing about getting involved in a startup is that it's usually a hot mess. Things have to be figured out. You don't really know where it's going. And it could just totally bust and collapse, right? So this was part-time though. This was not any kind of full-time job. And I was quite interested in doing more corporate webinars at the time. I do enjoy doing those. I like presenting. It was Canadian. I was like, okay. So I applied on LinkedIn. I don't think I heard from them for a couple months though, actually, maybe even 3 months. Then I finally get an email saying, we'd love to have a chat with you. Okay, cool. So I had an initial screening interview. I had a weird feeling, but it was okay. This one woman I really wasn't sure about. Again, I'm always about the gut check. Something was a little odd. But I was so curious, and that's why I kept saying yes until, oh my God, it was like such a big no. I couldn't even believe I got this far along, but had an initial interview. That went fine. Then I had to meet more people, like people in the company. There was some Canadians in the company. There were some Americans. It was a bit of a mix of everything. And they were in a nearby city. So they weren't in Toronto, but they were in a nearby city. And the business model was great. So I can say is that they were going to do just 15-minute corporate webinars that were in the personal development, mental health space. So instead of making people sit through these like 1-hour lunch and learns or these, no one has time for that. They had a 15-minute business model. I was like, this actually is really smart. It's like a micro dose of personal growth and personal development and training. So I thought, this is pretty cool. Could definitely do this. So they, kind of sold it to me and it sounded interesting. And then they kept saying, okay, so we're going to send you this pamphlet. Now, I just found it so hilarious that they kept calling it a pamphlet over and over. We're going to send you this pamphlet of how the kind of compensation works and how it all works. And I was like, okay, so I'm thinking this like 8-page pamphlet. I don't know. First of all, the word pamphlet just, as a designer, just I don't know, it made me laugh. Like, pamphlets are what you get at the bank. Pamphlets you get at the doctor's office when you want to know more about, like, ear infections. Like, it just something was so strange about the word pamphlet. Anyway, so she's like, I'm going to send you this pamphlet. She kept making it sound like it was this really big deal. This pamphlet, guys, was one page. It was like a column JPEG, like a small page. And I'm looking at this, and I was out and about at the time. I was getting at the time I was still addicted to the Tim Hortons steep tea. I was getting a Tim Hortons steep tea, and I was sitting down before I had to go into some other appointment, and I get this pamphlet that I've been waiting for I think a week at this time, at this point. And I'm looking at it, and I was like, this like makes like no sense. Like, how is this making sense? So basically, there was different tiers of coaching, but how it broke down, and I don't remember a lot of this because I actually had to delete all the files from my computer because the whole experience was so creepy in the end. I was going to be paid $25, or this is what they were offering, $25 per 15-minute webinar. Okay, I got to say this again, $25 for a 15-minute webinar. Now, you could argue that that's $100 an hour. No, it's not, because you're prepping all the prep time, hair and makeup before the webinar, and all the things, delivering the webinar, answering any questions and off the webinar. But really the prep work, like to learn the material, to present these confidently, right? You can't just be like reading off of a page. And what I thought in the beginning, I thought they were I didn't think I actually was going to be on video. I thought it was just the audio of me and I was going to be presenting. But no, then they told me it was going to be like, no, you need to be on camera and this whole thing. Well, that just is a whole other ballgame, right? So it's partly why my podcast is just audio now, because it's just so much more work to do the hair and the makeup, all that stuff. Okay, I wouldn't show up as much. And I was like, so I'm looking at this and I'm thinking $25, like this is making no sense to me. And so then at this point you're saying, Alana, why would you even entertain this? I was so curious. So there's just a part of me that's like, how is this going to make sense? Like, could this make sense or evolve into something? Do I just need to get my foot in the door and then this is going to be like really cool and they're going to get these? They were talking about huge contracts with like some really big insurance companies and they had all these connections. So, I have friends that have built startups and I know how rough and tumble it is at the beginning. So I was like, okay, again, I'm just going to keep saying yes until it's a no. So I kind of reluctantly said, okay. So they wanted to give me practice webinars to learn. And then we would like rehearse them. And there was a few of us onboarded at the same time. So and I had to learn this material. Some of it was actually really interesting. So I kind of liked the material. Again, it was like pushing a little bit of what I knew about personal development and mental health. I liked the idea of the whole thing, but there was just something, I was like, this is so much effort for very little compensation. And like, is this going to go anywhere? And like common theme for my whole career and this podcast is like the struggle piece. I was like, this is feeling kind of struggly, but this could also be really cool. So I was just, I don't know. I think I was just drinking too much of my Tim Hortons steep tea at the time because I just wasn't thinking clearly. My friend was like, Alana, you're getting paid the cost of a sandwich to do one of these webinars. I was like, I know, it's so insane. It's so stupid. Especially in Toronto, it's basically $25 for a sandwich. So I was like, yeah, but I just want to see this through a little bit more. I wait for that moment where my gut really kicks in and it's like, get out, get out, get out, get out. And it totally did. So I practiced some of these webinars. It was a lot of work. And there was like two main people that I was dealing with at the company, like for webinar training. And then we had the other coaches online and we were all kind of just trying to learn the material. Okay, so did a few of these and I was like, okay, I was getting paid for this training time. I was like, but this is still just strange. So then they have a Christmas party. So I think I onboarded sometime in October or maybe November. And they're like, we're doing a Christmas party. We're going to invite you. Now, I'm a few hours away, so I didn't go in person, but they're like, come on Zoom, like, or I think it was on Teams. Come on. And I was like, assuming that other coaches would be logging on virtually to this Christmas party. First of all, let's just talk about the fact that like going to a Christmas party virtually when everyone else is there is kind of strange. But I'm such a show up person. I'm such a like commitment person that I was like, if I'm invited, I'm going to go and I'm going to show my face. So I like put on a nice sweater. Maybe it was Christmassy and, got my, again, the hair and makeup done so I can get on camera. And I show up and I'm the only person that shows up virtually. And let me just give you the setting of this party. So one of the owners' parents owned like some kind of mansion in this city. So there's this big mansion with all these people in it, milling about, doing a party. It's all set up for Christmas. There's like a huge spread, which of course I can't eat the food. I'm not there. There's like the decorations. Basically, they set up, fuck, I can't believe I did this. They set up a laptop and just had me on screen, like waving to all these people walking by. And I'm trying to interact. And then people would like come on, like, hey, it's okay. So talk about yourself. And what was throwing me off was like there were some very highly accomplished people that I was chatting to, like had come from really big roles at really big companies. Like they had poached some very high level HR people from, again, these massive, massive companies who were going to hopefully bring them business and all these accounts and all these things. So there was so much potential, but there was something so strange. And also I have to say that the city that this was like all being, like the party was happening is like my least favorite city in all of Canada, actually in the whole world. Every time I go there, I feel physically sick. I hate it. So that should have been a red flag. But I'm sitting there on the Teams, chatting to people, thinking, what's happening? How long do I have to stay on this before it's rude to just like log off and be like, yeah, see ya. So I figured an hour was like good. But at one point, one of the women that interviewed me who was like involved in this company, she's like, oh, I'm going to take you on a tour. So she picks up the laptop. I still can't believe I did this. I don't know what was going on in my head. And then she like tours me around this mansion where they were using this mansion as their head office. Like, so they were, again, very startup-y. Like there was like a cool factor in a way because it was like this really interesting house. And there's just like, they're like, this is where we're got everyone's offices. And they made like a little makeshift gym. And they're like, oh, you have to come and visit us. And I was like, okay. But I also found there was something strange about this house. It was very old. So I am generally not a fan of really old houses. I get creeped out super quickly. Like, don't even try and invite me over to, like, I will reluctantly go and hang out in your old Victorian house, but I really don't like it, especially in certain parts of Toronto. I do not like it. So this was a really old house. She's taking me on the tour, and she, at one point, opens a door. And it was like a dark tunnel to a room that is not used anymore with an old hot tub from like 1972. So for sure, people have been murdered in this room or drowned or the weirdest things have happened in this room. I was so creeped out. Like the creep factor going through my body. I was like, what is happening? I am on a computer on Teams at a Christmas party for this weirdo company that doesn't want to pay me any money. And they're showing me this weird hot tub room. There's like, she's like, oh, this is like blocked off. No one really goes down here. I don't think it's been used in like 50 years. I was like, yeah, because it's like haunted and like bad stuff has happened there. I was like, what is happening? What am I doing right now? I would say this is one of the weirdest things I've ever seen, experienced, and I didn't want to see it. I really didn't. So she finished the tour, went all throughout this house, chatting to people. And at this point, I'm still like considering working with this company for the potential, but I mean, I missed, again, I don't think something was wrong with me at the time. Okay, so the Christmas party finishes. I go downstairs. I'm like, Deck, I don't know what to say about that one. That is so weird. Was glad I wasn't there in person because I didn't want to see this room virtually, so I definitely didn't want to see it in person, like in real life. I'm thinking these people are very strange, and I couldn't put my finger on it, and that is always my red flag. If I can't put my finger on something, or someone's talking to me and I can't get a read on them, that's me knowing that there's something off, because if someone's really genuine and they're working from integrity, then it's always a good vibe for me. They're not a sociopath. They're not a psychopath. Like, I've had so many creative directors I've worked with that were just really off. And I was like, they had no empathy in the end. Like, I realized that they were just weird. So you would think that would be the end of it for me. I continued on a little longer. for some reason, I went into another meeting, and this was the one that after that, I will say that I did bring up the compensation. So I didn't just sit there and say, this makes sense. I was like, this actually makes no sense. So we were kind of going back and forth with different compensation plans, different tiers, different ways of like making things work. I was pretty proactive about that because I wasn't giving up on this whole thing yet, even though it was so super weird. And I had kind of become friends with another coach who was onboarding as well. She was really considering like staying with them for a while. Like she was more on board than I was, and she was also considering what the different how the financials could work, and maybe we're getting more of a percentage of each webinar. And there was just so many ways to look at it. So I will say that despite the disgusting lowball offer, I was definitely proposing and entertaining different options to see if it was more financially viable, because that was just insane. And I said, basically, it's insane. You can't be doing that. So $25, like that is honestly, that's the thing though, people, is that some people have no shame and will just lowball you. Like it doesn't matter. It's not just happening in graphic design, guys. It happens like the coaching world can be, I can't even tell you, like, first of all, a lot of people just want it for free. It's like anything. People want everything for free. But suggesting $25 to host a 15-minute corporate webinar, no. I mean, stupid. So we went back and forth a bit more before this whole thing died. But what really made it die for me, and is one meeting we had with the team and some coaching people on it. There was one more training. And so there was mainly a guy and a girl that were doing these trainings. And the one guy was telling a story. And he's talking. And then he's like, oh, yeah, and this is some guy. He's in my church. And I am telling you, I heard the word church and my body went cold. I had the worst feeling come over me, like awful. This has nothing to do, I don't know what the kind of church it was, and this has nothing to do with religion. I just had this off feeling. Like, that's all it is, an off feeling. I have many religious friends. I will go to a midnight mass and enjoy that. I just had this cold feeling literally come over my whole body. There was something off. Now, I don't know if this is tied to the weird room, that creepy room, or what. I don't know. But all I knew, I was like, oh, there's something not right here. There's something that's unsettling, and I need to get the F out of this company, and like, I can't have anything to do with them. There was something weird. So this is your gut instinct. This is my gut instinct saying, we're shutting this show down. You've now said yes for long enough. You're going to say no now. And so I did. I got in touch with them right after that. And I just said, you know what? I don't think this is going to work. I invoiced them for the trainings that I had done. And honestly, it was like $300. It was like nothing. I have never been so happy to be rid of something in recent years. Like, it was just so strange. Took them a while to pay me. I had to pester them, that whole thing. But I finally got paid. And I will tell you, as I just said, the reason I don't actually have any notes here when I'm recording this, because, you know, usually I love my notes in terms of like making sure I tell the story accurately. I deleted pretty well everything. I kept a hard copy of like the contract just to keep on hand, just in case. I deleted everything. I did not want one email sitting in my email inbox or my folders from these people. It just energetically felt so strange. There was something so off, the way that they were I don't know. I don't know what it was, guys. There was something super strange. So that was what happened to me in this coaching world. And so again, it's in every industry that something strange is going to happen. But I do have to wonder, and I do think about this, why this came to me, why these opportunities come my way. I seem to get very strange jobs offered to me. I have another story that's going to be coming in an episode, teaching meditation classes. And that one totally also went off the rails in like the strangest way. I am constantly amazed about how many weird people run companies, and they are weird. And the companies are weird, and I don't think they're making any money. And I don't know if they're just shell companies, like just, I don't know what they're doing, or something is off. But what's wild is that sometimes you can look up these companies online and they're like, oh, we've been featured in Vogue and we've reached in New York Times or whatever mainstream media. And you're like, oh, legitimate company. This is great. No, my next story will all be about that one because no, I think a lot of them are total shams. But at the end of the day, you've got to trust your gut. For whatever reason, there was something not sitting right with me for whatever reason. I've just told you 100 reasons. Super weird, right? This was like the weird. And yeah, I know it seems weird that I went so far along with this, but I think the curiosity factor, like I am so fascinated by how people run their companies, what they're doing, what their leadership style is, how they onboard people. Like I learned so much, not just in terms of like how they came up with this idea and they pitched it and how they were getting people on board, but just how the group dynamics were working, how they worked with teams, how they were trying to drum up business. I did learn quite a few things, like how they were actually approaching companies and going after them. And actually, they offered us, if we brought in clients, we were going to get commissions. So let's say I got, Blush Cosmetics that I used to work with as a client, I would have gotten a actually decent commission. So I guess you could say I learned a lot, but at the end of the day, the gut is winning for me. There will be nothing that turns me away faster from a potential role or job than my gut. And I don't know if I've ever been so creeped out from one job. I mean, there's been red flags and odd things and nasty things happen to me in jobs. But in terms of weirdness and creep factor, this one takes the cake, guys. Take care. Thank you for joining me today on Ditch the Struggle. You showing up here means so, so much to me. To dig deeper into the topics discussed today and to learn about my work, visit alanarosa.com. And don't forget to download your free resources while you're there. And if this episode resonated with you, please share with others who also want to ditch the struggle. Go ahead and subscribe to the podcast, leave a rating and a review, and let me know what you'd like to see more of on this podcast. And before I go, I want to leave you with my 3 favorite ways to ditch the struggle. Be your own best advocate, take baby steps for the win, and forget about a linear career path. It's overrated and you are doing just fine. See you next time.